Alright, so you read the title of the video. This is a Christmas themed video where I'm going to be redesigning Santa's reindeer as a K-pop boy group. I am recording this on Christmas Day, and I'm hoping to have this video uploaded before Christmas is over. So wish me luck. I've been more ambitious in the past few days than I have been for all of 2022, and I'm just gonna ride that ambition. Most of the work for this has been done in the past couple of days. Also, since I'm trying to do this really quick, if I mess up or if I miss anything, I'll probably just type it in as notes on the screen instead of re-recording myself, because it is a lot of effort on my end just recording my voice this much. It's not my greatest skill, but I am working on it. But I don't want to dilly-dally, so let's just get into how we even got to this video topic in the first place. Basically, this got started because me and a couple of my friends were just making jokes on Discord, as we do, and then the idea of Santa's reindeer being a K-pop boy group came up, and I was like, I can actually make that happen with the power of digital art, and that brings us to this video. So I came up with a K-pop group designed after Santa's 9 reindeer, so it is a 9-member group, and I decided to call the group REINDEER, spelled D333R, which is a nod to how K-pop groups often have numbers in the name referencing some aspect of the group, usually the number of members of the group. And the 3s obviously stand for how there's 9 members in the group, but also how there's 3 subunits, each consisting of 3 members, and that is a concept I took from 17. So this is a group that has a hip-hop unit, a performance unit, and a vocal unit. I will get to which member is in which group as you go through the video. I also wanted to come up with a fandom name for them, and my friends started lovingly calling the fans Dearest, so I guess I will go with that. I guess before we get into it, I was trying to look up to see if any of the reindeer already had established personalities, which seems silly, but I thought, you know, there's been so many movies about Santa and his reindeer, and Rudolph especially, so I was like, maybe they actually have personalities, and I can base some aspects of the character designs on that. But I was looking it up, and I did find some things, but there was wildly conflicting information, basically. Like, some sites would say, oh, Dasher is really good at this and he's really shy. Then another site would say the exact opposite, basically. So I just took what information I liked, left the information I didn't like, and I came up with a bunch of basic descriptions for each reindeer member. And then I took those descriptions, and in order to decide what each character would look like, I sent it without labels to my friends in my K-pop dance team's Discord and asked them what idols each description reminded them of. So they did that, and so basically I used their answers as inspiration for what each character design would look like. I took artistic liberties where I felt it was necessary, but for the most part I tried to stick to the inspirations that my friends did send me. Towards the end I got really ambitious and also did some extra designing, but we will get to that when we get to it. So yeah, let's just get started. So our first reindeer boy is going to be Dasher, and in terms of information I found about him online, it was mainly that he was the fastest reindeer in the group and that he really likes sewing, I guess, with his hooves, maybe? I don't know. But yeah, I took that information and created this little profile, thinking of him as a main rapper type, part of the hip-hop subunit, of course. Specifically, he's known for being the fastest rapper in the group, and just a really fast rapper in K-pop in general. Since it also said that he liked to sew, I was thinking that maybe he could be like the group stylist or the group fashion designer. He helps come up with the clothing for each of their comebacks, and I thought that that could be a really cool way for him to contribute to the group. And I just included some other fun facts that I thought would suit him. So he's energetic, athletic, competitive, and in terms of his look, I was thinking of his style to be mostly like Yeonjun from TXT, and I was mostly just using Pinterest for that. I don't know how to exactly describe it, but I also based his face shape off of Zello from BAP because I'm a big BAP stan, of course, and the fast rapping got me onto that. And then his eyes are meant to look more like Chaeyoung from Twice, his nose like Bam Bam from GOT7, his mouth like Sunwoo from The Boys, and his hair like Jackson from GOT7. And overall, I'm really happy with how he turned out. I think he has a really cool put together look. You'll see in the video that the members don't really match in concept and style, which is kind of funny. That's just an oversight on my part. I was just kind of drawing them in whatever clothes. If I ever do this again, I'll try to make it more cohesive. Okay, so next on the list we have Dancer, and I actually couldn't find a lot of personality information about this particular reindeer, and maybe that's just because his name is self-explanatory as is. I did find one site that described him as extroverted and stylish. I think the obvious choice here was to make dancer, the main dancer of the group, and part of the performance subunit. I figured some special skills would include that he has a b-boy background and that he is the choreographer for the group, so for all of their comebacks he comes up with most of the choreography. In terms of his general personality bio, I figured he'd be extroverted, positive, spontaneous, somebody who likes to party, and is really stylish. And in terms of his design, I personally thought of Jonguk from BAP. Like I said, I'm a BAP stan. There's going to be BAP stuff in this video. So I designed his face shape after Jonguk. His eyes were roughly based on J-Hope from BTS, and his nose and mouth are from a specific photo that I found of Momo from Twice. And his hair and style, I copied the 8/Minghao from 17. I really like how this one came together. I think he looks very handsome. I think he suits the description well. Alright, so the next one we got is Prancer, and for Prancer I definitely found a couple sources saying that he was a really good leader and a good mediator and had good communication skills, so I figured I'd make him the leader of Deer. That led me to thinking about just popular leaders in K-pop, so I decided to put him in the hip-hop subunit and make him the lead rapper, and just for kicks, might as well just make him good at music production. Also wrote him down as the tallest member and the oldest member, of course being the leader. It's not always true, but I do think it's nice when the leader is also the oldest member. I wrote him down as gentle and loyal, and I also wrote him down as a little bit vain, always checking his appearance, because that was something else that I found in a couple different sources online, and my friends definitely saw this description and thought of various popular leaders in K-pop. His look is inspired by Junho from 2PM for his face and his style mostly, but then his facial features is where we really get into the popular K-pop leaders, which would include Hongjoong from ATEEZ for his eyes, his nose and hair being inspired by S-Cubes from 17, and of course his mouth, specifically his smile and dimples, are based off of RM from BTS. And I think he looks really mature and sweet and like a good older brother type of leader for this group, so I'm really happy with how he turned out. Although I will say I had some trouble coloring him. In general, I had some trouble coloring this just because I kept making the colors too desaturated at first and then saturating it later on, which led to some wonkiness. I think I was just really tired. I did most of the coloring really late at night when I should have been sleeping. So if you see me messing with the colors a lot, that's why. Alright, so next up we have Vixen, and Vixen was a really fun one for me to design. I think his look turned out just really fun and really in line with the description that I gave him, but his face is mostly based on Rocky from Astro, and I feel like was pretty obvious and turned out well. Eyes and nose are based off of ATEEZ members, San and Yunho, respectively, and then his mouth is based off of Hoshi from 17, and then his hair is a bit of a mix of inspiration from Kun from Wavy and then Jimin from BTS. And for his style, I didn't write down a specific member, I just thought of something flamboyant and dramatic basically, because he's a bit of a showstopper type, somebody who really likes a lot of attention. He's of course the lead dancer, part of the performance subunit, and I thought of him as just being a really dramatic person, having a background in theater and contemporary dance, and maybe he's also really good at acting because of that. And also something I found out about Vixen the reindeer online is that he enjoys pranks and magic tricks. I figured that that would go well with him, having really good stage presence and showmanship, and just being overall a really confident member of the group. Alright, so next up we have Comet. For Comet, the main thing I found online was that he's really good with kids and that children look up to him, and he's generally just very wise and friendly and outgoing and attractive. And so I figured those all made really good traits for main visual basically. So I put him as the visual and also a sub-vocal, so he'd be part of the vocals sub-unit. I took this information and thought that it would mean that he's a great conversationalist, someone who's just really good with fan interaction specifically, and I also thought that maybe he'd be multilingual and maybe a multicultural background. One of my friends has headcanoned him as Australian, so do with that what you will. Probably because the description reminded her of Felix from Stray Kids. On that note, I didn't use Felix as a big pointer for his design, except for the freckles on his face. That is definitely taken from Felix. His face shape is supposed to be reminiscent of Eunwoo from Astro. His eyes are based off of V from BTS. His nose is like Seonghwa from ATEEZ. His mouth is like Joshua from 17. And I was going to model his hairstyle after someone specific, but I got overwhelmed and just went with something basic. and the hair color was just something I went with to mostly balance out the group because there wasn't anyone that was blonde. And I figured for his style, I didn't really use a reference for his style that much. I just thought it'd be something simple and cool but not too flashy. On to the next one, we have Cupid. I felt that Cupid was one of the easiest to come up with the personality and bio for, because obviously Cupid has the connotation of the cherub legend, so something involving love and affection, and even when looking up his personality, I read that certain sites describe him as affectionate or somebody who likes to spread the love and bring people together. Also somebody who has a sweet tooth. Another thing I found was that Cupid loves to sing, so that made it pretty easy to put Cupid in the vocal subunit. I ended up deciding on him being the lead vocal instead of the main vocal, and that was because of Donner's description, which I will get to next. In terms of special skills, I was thinking that maybe Cupid is best with high notes and also doing aegyo for the fans. It's a very, very powerful skill, you can't underestimate it. And I also figured that he'd be like the mom of the group and also really affectionate with the other members, so doing all that skinship stuff that the fans love. In terms of his look, he's based off of Jongho from ATEEZ, mostly his face shape, and then his eyes are actually based off of Chu from Luna. I wish those girls the best, especially Chu. His nose is loosely based off of DK from 17, although I don't think I captured that particularly well because his nose is really distinctive and I don't know if I really caught that in my drawing, but oh well. His mouth is designed after Subin from TXT, and his style, I couldn't get away from this thought of him being into academia-based clothes, so like collared shirts and sweater vests, really light, playful colors, things like that. Alright, so our next reindeer is Donner, and Donner is actually the main vocal of the group, in the vocal subunit of course. In terms of his lore that I found online, according to certain websites, his name actually originates from the Dutch word for thunder, and so he's supposed to be particularly known for his really loud, booming voice, and also that he really enjoys singing, so I figure that was easy enough. It's funny because his design ended up being really easy to do, and I also just put that he enjoys being on variety shows because of course he likes being the center of attention, and in general he's an extrovert and is maybe a little sensitive. Maybe he doesn't like it when other members tease him, but they do, just to keep his ego in check. His face shape is based off of Wooyoung from ATEEZ. His eyes are modeled after Woohyun from Infinite. His nose is meant to look like Seungkwan's from 17. His mouth is modeled after Daehyun from BAP. His hair is also modeled after one of Wooyoung's hairstyles. I didn't have a specific idea for his clothing, I just found a shirt that I liked on Pinterest and put that on him basically. I can't help but when I look at him, it reminds me of Johnny from NCT. So Johnny main vocal, everyone. It's just, I have nothing against Johnny. It's just funny that I combined all these different K-pop idol traits and it ended up looking like Johnny. But yeah, I like how he came together. I think he looks really nice. Next up we have Blitzen, and honestly, as I was creating the description for him, I fell in love with this character. I think he would be my bias if Deer were a real group. There were some sites saying that he was the fastest reindeer in the group, even though other sites were saying that it was Dasher, and I felt like Dasher made more sense because his name is Dasher, but whatever. Supposedly, the name Blitzen comes from the Dutch word for lightning, so it's supposed to just be like he's also really fast. So I was seeing that and I was thinking that maybe he can rap almost as fast as Dasher, and maybe he's good at a lot of other things. I couldn't find too much information on him. He was one of the last members that I came up with a description for, so I kind of just had him fill in where the other members were lacking. So I made him a sub-rapper and a sub-vocal, and he's part of the hip-hop subunit, but do not be fooled by the sub-category because he is also a songwriter slash poet, and he basically writes a majority of the songs that Deer puts out. And I also wanted to put him as a multi-instrumentalist, so something that's really impressive, but it's not something that you see because it's not something that's marketed for K-pop idols. So yes, I put him down as somebody who's very playful and mischievous, mostly because of descriptions I read online. Other descriptions implied that he was very punctual and a bit of a busy busybody, somebody who just likes to work really hard, and that led me to think that maybe he's someone who improves his skills really quickly, hence he's so good at multiple instruments and why he's both a rapper and a vocalist. So yeah, he'd probably be one of my favorite members if this were a real group. I really like when K-pop idols have multiple different talents to show. In terms of his design, his face is designed after Woozy, and I'd imagine him to have a similar build as well, so he'd be more on the short side. His eyes, and especially his eye makeup, are designed after Taeyong from NCT. His nose, I wrote down that I designed it after Bang Chan from Stray Kids, but I don't know if I actually did that. Stray Kids fans, let me know if that looks like Bang Chan's nose. I think I definitely took a lot of liberties with Blitzen's design, maybe because I got so attached. And his mouth and hair are definitely designed after Yoongi from BTS. And I figured his style would just be really casual, really comfortable, and he isn't trying to impress anybody too much. He's just somebody who works really hard and does what he can to support the group, but isn't looking to be the center of attention or anything. Alright, so for last, but most definitely not least, we have Rudolph. And Rudolph is, of course, the most well-known, the most famous out of all of Santa's reindeer. He's usually the one that people know about. So I figured it was pretty obvious what his description would be. He would definitely be a golden maknae, just like Jungkook from BTS. And he would be someone who's an all-arounder. He has exceptional stage presence, is definitely part of the performance subunit, but he can really do it all. He's a vocalist, he's a dancer, he's a rapper, he's an actor, he's a model, he's a visual, you know, just one of those members that really is good at everything and was born to perform. I also picture him as the most popular member of the group. The flip side of that would be that he's actually really introverted and really shy and embarrassed easily, and that he doesn't actually do that well on variety shows and fan interactions and things, but he was just born to perform. And of course, he would also be the face of the group and the center. All of those things. I tried my best to actually give him a literal reddish nose because that is the feature that Rudolph is most known for. So I did my best to capture that without making him look like a straight up clown. Hopefully I accomplished that. His design is pretty clearly based off of Jungkook. I think he ended up just kind of looking like Jungkook a lot, but I was trying to incorporate other idols into his look. His face and his nose and his hair are intentionally designed after Jungkook, but I was trying to also incorporate features from Wonyoung from IVE. And specifically, I used her eyes as inspiration. I believe I was also looking at Taemin for the design of his eyes and eye makeup. This was another one that I was trying to take artistic liberties with, but he still just looks so much like Jungkook to me. And then for his style, honestly, I was just looking up outfits that Jungkook actually wore, and also a bit of Yeonjun from TXT, just because I feel like that style would suit this particular character design. And I really like how he turned out. He ended up just a lot like Jungkook, but hopefully there's enough of a difference to where it doesn't just look like Jungkook fan art. I hope. And the last step, of course, was just putting them all together and giving them all a background and just creating one image for them all to be in. And here it is. We have the lineup of the entire Santa's Reindeer K-pop group, which is called Deer. And before you go, let me give you some information about them and their debut. Anticipated debut of Deer from North Pole Entertainment. Their CEO is Santa Claus. He mostly goes by his producer name, Saint Nick, and he probably looks something like this. I also wanted to put together just a whole product lineup as if they were having an actual debut mini album, and this was something that I had a lot of fun with. And this is where it's going to start to get really goofy, but just play along. This is very much a holiday concept for a group, so I figured their album packaging, it would come in a box that just looks like a literal wrapped present, something like this, and then I designed the CD to kind of look like a peppermint candy. And then of course I also wanted to design the photo book that comes in all K-pop albums. And it's just a very simple design that features all of the members and some candy canes and other holiday iconography. And then something else that I thought would be fun to put into the package would be a holiday card plus a secret message for Dearest, their fans, and that was just something I thought was really funny. I also wanted to design a light stick and photo cards, which I was gonna have designed to look like Christmas gift tags, but I ran out of time. I did most of this work the past couple of days, so this is all I've got. And of course, I needed a name for their mini album and the track list. I came up with a bunch of different titles, and they were all very cheesy and silly and out there, which is exactly what I was looking for, because this is a Christmassy K-pop group based off of Santa's Reindeer. For the title, I went with Candy Cane Chillin'. Tell me you wouldn't want to listen to that. No, I had so many ideas, and I mostly went with this one because I immediately had kind of an idea for a logo. I'm not too fond of how it turned out, mostly because I had to rush it, and so I didn't really get to take my time with it. Logo design and stuff like that is so difficult for me, and I did my best with the limited time that I had, so don't judge me too hard. And then I was also looking up references for, you know, how K-pop groups will reveal the track list ahead of time and have the list of all the songs and who wrote them and composed them, etc. So I wanted to make a little promotional item like that. I had a lot of fun coming up with this and coming up with the titles of the songs. I think my favorite is probably Sleigh Ride. And Sleigh Ride was actually going to be the title originally, but I changed my mind because I couldn't come up with a visual for it. Although, now that I hate the visual for Candy Cane Chillin', I kind of just wish I stuck with Sleigh Ride. Oh well. As you can see, Blitzen and Prancer are really involved in the lyric and composing process, and all of the songs are arranged by everyone's beloved CEO, Saint Nick. And I was also thinking of trying to come up with what kind of sound each song would have in describing it to you guys, but I didn't have time to think of that. I just thought of the title, so if you have an idea of what kind of song they would sound like, maybe an actual K-pop song that you would compare it to, please let me know in the comments. I would love to know what kind of sound speaks to you. I'm not even sure what kind of music that deer would make exactly. Let me know what you guys think. It could honestly be anything. But yeah, that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I know I wasn't able to get this uploaded by Christmas, and that's okay. I know that my friends will watch it, and that's all that matters. If I try to approach the same project again, I think I will be a lot more prepared and do it ahead of time. But honestly, I'm just really proud of myself for getting it done in the first place, because this was definitely a lot of work. I was extremely ambitious. I am really proud of myself, and I really hope that you guys liked it. If you watched all the way to the end, thank you so much. I appreciate it more than you could ever know, and I really hope that you enjoyed it. Please let me know who your bias in Deer is, and let me know your thoughts on the track list. Let me know what you think each song would sound like, and what kind of sound you think that this group would have if they were a real K-pop group. I'm excited to hear everybody's feedback. I would love to know what everyone thinks. All my important links to things are down in the description. I will actually be back soon, and I mean it this time, because I have another video in the queue that is almost done. Thank you all so much for your patience with me. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a good day. I will see you next time. Goodbye!
Dasher and Dancer and